This is a 40-inch Antica ceiling fan from the early 80s. It was manufactured in Hong Kong. I've seen these labeled as a couple of different things, and there are some collectors who believe that these are Kodak products, but if you look inside the switch housing cap, you will see Antica embossed inside that switch cap. Also, I've seen these in old newspaper magazine ads marketed under the Antica name. Anticas are known for going ridiculously fast, at least when the capacitors are working in them properly. This one is no exception, and we'll go ahead and turn it on right now. The fact that they go so fast is in part due to the massive motor inside these things. The motor fills up pretty much the motor housing of the smaller version. As you see, this is low speed. It's already getting up to about 100 RPM. And again, I have the little indicator tape on one of the brackets kind of show you because it will get blurry. Probably with this one even on low speed. We'll go ahead and turn it up to medium. This fan's in decent shape. The brass finish is a little bit pitted in some areas, but that's to be expected on kind of an older fan. Also, one of the blades is slightly warped, and as a result, there's a little bit of wobble. Wobble's probably most notable on medium. Again, as I've said before, wobble doesn't hurt the fan's performance unless one of the blades has just been knocked out of alignment, in which case you can straighten it out because it slows the fan down. But it's not dangerous. On these older fans, it's to be expected. I'm kind of against the use of balancing kits because you're not really doing anything but damaging the blades, in my opinion. I would rather straighten the brackets out myself if that's what's causing the problem. Medium's going to run about 180 RPM, maybe a little bit less. It's probably what most 52-inch fans are going to do on high. Probably nowadays, with as cheaply made as the fans are now, this is probably about as fast as a 42-incher is going to go on high. You know, something you get out of a big box store somewhere. They're just not made like they used to be. And I'll go ahead and turn it on high. As I said, Anticas go ridiculously fast. Even on the medium speed, you could hear and feel a good breeze, but this is just unbelievable. I'm standing under a column of air pretty much, and you can definitely hear the fan, the wind noise as well. It's about 300 RPM. They really don't make fans go that fast anymore. Maybe those little bitty micro fans. But I've never owned one of those, so I don't have much of an opinion on them. I want to go ahead and show you the spin down time. There are collectors that like to watch the spin down time. I usually don't show it just for the sake of time, but the fact that this motor's so heavy, it's going to take this fan a while to stop, and that's even with these small blades. While it's spinning down, I'll go ahead and mention the blades themselves, and these are pointed tip blades. Most of the time on the small Anticas, you find them in the arch tip version. Almost every fan that I've come across, the small Anticas, or they've had that arch tip. I had several neighbors that owned these Anticas. One house was full of arch tip blade fans like this one. My next door neighbors seem to recall that they had one of these exact fans here with the pointed tips, and it may have been cane, but I don't remember exactly. But they're pretty wide for what they are. Kind of helps out with the fan's performance a little bit. The finish on the blades is spectacular. It's kind of this distressed looking oak, and it's held up pretty well over time. There's maybe be a slight difference in color with a couple of these blades, which I don't think does anything but give the fan character. I mean, it's a beautiful fan. notwithstanding the pitting in a couple of areas, but it's a good looking fan, and it performs really well too. As you see, it's continuing to come to a stop. Say that's what a heavy motor will do. Well, it'll take a while to stop, and it has. So in just a couple of seconds, I'll show you reverse. And starting the fan on reverse, and I'll help it along a little bit, because otherwise that heavy motor takes forever to get up to speed. As I've mentioned before in other videos, these import fans, you know, the speed differential between forward and reverse sometimes is pretty noticeable for whatever reason. This one, the speeds are kind of similar with the exception of low. Low might run about 90 RPM, really not that noticeable, at least to the naked eye. But it, you know, now that I'm looking at it, maybe right at where the forward is. I'll go ahead and turn it up to medium. Again, medium's going to run right at 170, 180 again. Even on reverse, I can feel the air coming off this fan, which is kind of why it's recommended when you run the fan in reverse in the winter, don't put it on the higher speeds. The purpose of reverse is to bring the hot air off the ceiling, kind of recircle the heat, so you don't have to turn your heater as high. But if you have your fan going too fast, then it will create the wind chill effect and kind of negate the effect you're trying to get. So again, medium reverse again about 170, 180. We'll turn on high. And as that gets up to speed, you'll see again it's probably about 300 RPM. My RPM estimations are just that. They're estimations. They're not. I'm not sitting here with a counter or anything. It's, you know, when you're around these fans long enough, you kind of learn what certain RPM looks like. And when you're around music like I am, you DJ and you have to kind of measure beats per minute. Yeah, you kind of learn how to eyeball that kind of thing. Yeah, when you're having to do beat matching and all that, you have to listen for it. It's kind of the same principle. I'll go ahead and turn that off. One other thing I forgot to mention is that while wobble is okay, if you see that motor turning when it's up there, that is not okay, especially if you're running that fan on reverse. These older import fans, including this one, some of them, all they had to keep the motor attached to the down rod was a set screw. And you had the down rod screwed into the motor and you tighten your set screw, and that held the fan in place. You run your fan on a high speed in reverse and your set screw is not set, that motor has the capability of twisting itself free from the down rod to its death and probably your injury if you're standing under it. So be sure if you have set screws your set screws are tight, because a lot of these older fans do not have the little bar that goes through both the down rod and the motor to hold it in place. Also, if you've got a fan that's on a J-hook, which this one is not, and you run it on high reverse, you run the risk of it twisting itself loose from the ceiling. So just a little safety tip there as this fan is slowing down. Again, this is a 40-inch Antica. The pointed blades are a little bit shorter than the arch tip blades. I got another Antica from the same house that I'll show you in just a little while that is white and brass and has the arch tip blades. That one's actually 42 inches and this one's 40. So just a little bit of a size difference there. But anyway, that is what this is, a 40-inch Antica. Good solid fan, and thanks again for watching.